What is in the box? Is there a box here? There is a box here. Okay. What do we got in here today? Wow, we don't even have to shake this thing around. Shingles. Oh, isn't that great? And shingles are wonderful. But do you know where these shingles are from? The roof of the church. Wow, that's not so great. So that tells us we have a little bit of a repair job to figure out. But yeah, shingles are a wonderful thing. They really help keep out the weather and water. Water does a whole lot of damage very, very quickly. And I think when we think about shingles, well, I think part of what we look to for shingles is we say, in our faith life, it's in prayer, we're praying for protection, and God through the Spirit watches over us and keeps the water from getting in and making a huge mess. And so, Lord, we need God's protection, and we continue to pray. And when we notice when we stop and when we're disconnected, so it's good to stay on top of it. Okay. Well, let's open God's Word together. Right. For this season of Lent, we've been walking with Jesus on the road to the cross, and we are doing so as his sheep. Jesus called himself the Good Shepherd and talked often of his love for his sheep. We often talk then of the Christian life, even the hard parts, as sheep following the voice of the shepherd. So we've been reflecting on Psalm 23 as part of our journey. And so far, this is how far we've made it. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. He will provide for me. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He puts those places in my path along the way. I'm not always in those places, but he does give me those places of refreshment. Last week, we talked about our shepherd leading us in the path of righteousness and how much God does want us to stay on the path and follow him, and what happens when we wander off. And now we are reflecting on that passage that says we follow him into the valley of the shadow of death. So for our text, we're going to read from Isaiah 42, starting at verse 18 and 43. The prophet Isaiah talking to the people of Israel. Listen, you who are deaf. Look and see, you blind. Who is as blind as my own people, my servant? Who is as deaf as my messenger? Who is as blind as my chosen people, the servant of the Lord? You see and recognize what is right, but refuse to act on it. But hear with your ears. You hear with your ears, but you don't really listen. Because he is righteous. The Lord has exalted his glorious law. But his own people have been robbed and plundered, enslaved, imprisoned, and trapped. They are fair game for anyone and have no one to protect them, no one to take them back home. Who will hear these lessons from the past and see the ruin that awaits you in the future? Who allowed Israel to be robbed and hurt? It was the Lord against whom we sinned, for the people would not walk in his path, nor would they obey his law. Therefore he poured out his fury on them and destroyed them in battle. They were enveloped in flames, but they still refused to understand. They were consumed by fire, but they did not learn their lesson. But now, O Jacob, listen to the Lord who created you. O Israel, the one who formed you says, do not be afraid, for I have ransomed you. I have called you by name, you are mine. When you go through the deep waters, I will be with you. When you go through rivers of difficulty, you will not drown. When you walk through the fire of oppression, you will not be burned up. The flames will not consume you. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I gave Egypt as a ransom for your freedom. I gave Ethiopia and Seba in your place. Others were given in exchange for you. I traded their lives for yours because you are precious to me. You are honored, and I love you. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will gather you and your children from east and west. I will say to the north and south, bring back my sons and daughters back to Israel. From the distant corners of the earth, bring all who claim me as their God, for I have made them for my glory. It was I who created. Word of the Lord. People of God, oh, the life of a sheep. You follow the shepherd. He's there to care for you when you're sick or something goes wrong. And now and then you probably think to yourself, I wonder where we're going next. And if they could ask the shepherd, he'd turn and say to them, oh, you're not going to like this one. The psalmist calls this one the valley of the shadow. As I was preparing for this sermon, I was remembering my daughter, Yana, in her first few years. In many ways, Yana started off her life in the valley of the shadow of death, and we were there with her in it. She had 2 major surgeries in her first 6 months to correct a major heart defect. She had a third at the age of 2. And these were very hard years, full of doctor's appointments and feeding tubes and medications. How do you help your kid with something like that? Well, here's a book that spoke very strongly to us in those first few years. It's called My Promised Rainbow, and it's the story of Noah. And what was the rainbow promise God made to Noah? The book summarizes it in lovely form. But God remembered Noah, who he gave this special promise to. The storm is coming, but I'll be with you. I'll keep you safe. My promise is true. We did our best to make and keep that promise to our kid, but we were also forced to those hard moments where we had to surrender her into places we could not go. And in those moments, all we could do was surrender her to God's care and protection. Surgeries in rooms where the shadow of death would loom large, and we could not be there to protect God. It doesn't seem to matter where or when in human history you live. This is real to all generations in all times and places. Sometimes God takes us into places that are terrifying. Around the world, so many live in war zones where bullets and bombs and drone attacks are a daily threat. Sicknesses, disease, food shortages, these too are storms that can rage around us, or hard times economically, job losses, wars in the home, with conflict and divorce, tearing families apart. Times and places where our lives seem to be unraveling at the seams and we are unable to stop. In those places, we wonder at the leading of our shepherd. Where are you? Where is your promise? Where is your voice? I'm having trouble hearing and following you now. It seems cold and dark all around, and the slightest misstep or strong breeze in the wrong direction could cost me. In Isaiah's prophecy, we hear some harsh messages. Isaiah is sent to tell the people that God is going to send his people into a very dark valley, exile in Babylon. In chapter 42, we hear why. He says, who is as blind as my own people, my servant, my covenanted people? You hear with your ears, but you don't really listen. The Lord has exalted his law, right? I taught you how I wanted you to live. You were supposed to be my shining example to the nations so that people would look at you and say, this is what real righteousness and justice looks like. What a God Israel must have that he teaches such wisdom. That's who you were supposed to be. But you did not listen. You went your own way. You tried to be like all the other nations around you, doing things their way, following their gods, playing politics, right? So you were punished. I made promises to you. You made promises to me. You broke your side of it. And now you get all the negative consequences that were bound up in that agreement, in our covenant. You will lose. If you keep your agreement, you will win, and you will win, and you will win, and you will win. And the bounty and beauty of what I will do is amazing. But if you break it, you will lose. You will lose. You will lose everything. So who will hear these lessons from the past and see the ruin that waits in the future? Who was it who allowed Israel to be robbed and hurt? It was the Lord against whom we sin. And we hear God's grief in this, right? I have disciplined Israel before. Here's a more literal text from the Hebrew, verse 25. God says, I set him with fire all around, but he did not know. It burned him, but he does not take it to heart. Discipline is one of the prominent reasons we see in the Bible for why God takes us into dark valleys. Because, when we ask those questions, why, where are you, God? One of those answers is this. I have tried to teach you and challenge you on these things before, but you are not listening. You need stronger medicine. Perhaps fire will show you how serious this is. This past week, Thursday, our Bible study group looked at this tough question, right? When we had a good conversation. Why is life so hard? And we looked at some of the broader answers that the Bible gives us. Why does our shepherd take us through dark valleys? Why did God design the world to have places that are not green pastures or still waters? Why? Why all these in between? And one of the first reasons is soul building. This one of those realities is that life without hardship does not thrive. We don't do well when things are too easy. We don't. We kind of stagnate. We stop growing. We stop. We slow down. We turn into a puddle. I don't know. I don't know what it is about us, but that's kind of what tends to happen. And we see it in the natural world too. We mostly and truly learn things when we learn them the hard way through our mistakes. And yes, this is where God's discipline fits too. God does sometimes actively discipline us by showing us hardship. But we are taught by James, brother of Jesus, count it pure joy, he says, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. Let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. God works in hardship to strengthen his people, to make us ready to do more, to carry more, to prepare us for hard things that we have to do ahead. How often does God prepare us for work that he has to do by throwing something at us now so that we're ready to take up a challenge later? A second reason that we have so many dark valleys and, why is life so hard? Why did God make the world this way? Is that, God has made us free. And when you have free people, not machines, right? You want a real relationship. You can have that. But to be free, you also have to have options that include getting off the path, getting in trouble. Right? Free people have to be free to do both good and evil. If there was no possibility of doing wrong, we wouldn't be free. Love isn't real if it's forced or if it's the only option on the table. So we as people are free to love and hate, to follow or wander off. God does let us get in trouble, and then he goes to find us there. For many of us, that's when we finally see how much he loves us. He comes and finds us in that place where we've gone stuck. The third reason is that God has a plan, purpose, and a direction. So much, and we recognize that so much of it is yet to be revealed or shown to us. God gives us very vague, beautiful pictures, right, of what it is, but say something along the lines of a new creation populated with people who have in some way, we have passed the test, we have finished the course, we are ready and prepared to serve and love God in whatever he has planned for us in the future. That we will find ourselves there. And so if Paul could say in the Romans that I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed. We know enough to say God has something bigger planned for us. And we will have the opportunity to stand and love and serve with full joy. And no more tears, no more crying. But we will be able to move into that new reality in the next life, and it will be extraordinary and beautiful. So God has a plan to get us there, so that helps us when we are. So the valley is real. The shadow of death is real. The fires are coming, and the waters are rising. And we ask, where is God? And for Israel about to lose everything, what is God's message to them? But now, O Jacob, listen to the God who created you. O Israel, the one who formed you says, do not be afraid, for I have ransomed you. I have called you by name, you are mine. When you go through the deep waters, I will be with you. When you go through rivers of difficulty, you will not drown. When you walk through the fire of oppression, you will not be burned up. The flames will not consume you, for I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. Even though I am sending you there to Babylon, I am sending you into the valley of the shadow of death. You will feel all of it. But even there, I am still your God, and you are still my people. I have called you by name, you are mine. Even though you haven't listened or done what I asked, I am going to keep my promise to you. My promise is true. The storm is coming, but I will be with you. You will not be destroyed by the fire. You will not drown. I will preserve you, and I will bring you home. Isaiah talks about God paying a ransom for his people a few times in this text. Now, that's a painful thing to think about, right? It's like one of the ways too many people these days end up on the wrong side of a ransom is something like this, where it's just like, okay, somebody has hacked into my computer. They have gotten a hold of some very important information, maybe private information. And so then the threats come. It's like, well, you give us such and such an amount, or we will release this, we will exploit this, we will share this with people who should not know this. You don't want to know about this, right? We will wreck your life unless you pay up. Families sometimes face this when a loved one is kidnapped and held for ransom. Pay up or you will not see her again. He is going to vanish into a very dark hole unless you give him money. You don't want that to happen. Pay up. Why would you pay? In our text, God talks about paying a ransom for his people. And he says, I gave Egypt as a ransom for your freedom. I gave Ethiopia and Seba in your place. Others were given in exchange for you. I traded their lives for yours because you are precious to me. You are honored. What is the message here, right? These countries, it mentions wealthier, stronger nations, in Egypt, Ethiopia, and Seba. In the eyes of the world, these are crown jewels embedded in their various locations. It's like, you need to go and see the wealth of Ethiopia. It is beautiful and profound. What a lush place, right? That so for and so and why would God do that? Right? He's paying this. I'm going to pay this enormous price for you because I love you. And of course, Jesus comes to pay that ransom, right? He uses that language too. In John 10, verse 11, he says he is the good shepherd, and that the good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. That sacrifice is seen in his love and his care for them, tending to the weak and injured, carrying their weight on his shoulders. There is suffering and struggle in that, bringing them through safely. But Jesus will ultimately pay the full cost for his flock. He will lay down his life to ransom them, to save them. We will see and reflect on that ultimate ransom in a few weeks. But for now, let's hear the voice of the shepherd as he speaks to his sheep. God speaking to Israel. We are going to the valley of the shadow of death right now. Your land will be burned in fire. You will be taken into exile, but do not be afraid, for I am with you. This will end. I will gather you and your children from east and west. I will say to the north and south, bring my sons and daughters back to Israel from the distant corners of the earth. Bring all who claim me as their God, for I have made them for my glory. It was I who created them. This is coming, but it will end. I will take us through it. You are my children, and I am your God. I will keep my promises to you because I love you. Precious. Do not be afraid. People of God, our text from Isaiah reinforces a strong and powerful picture. God is taking his people into a very dark and terrible place. Nightmare. Their homes will be lost, everything burned in fire, and then exile in Babylon, living under the thumb, living in a foreign land, with their police looking over your shoulder to make sure you don't get out of line. God is doing this to them to punish them because they have not listened to him, no matter his warnings. God promised to build them into a nation that the whole world could see and recognize as righteous and beautiful. All that he asked was that they stay by his side and keep to the path he set in his law. God kept his end of the bargain, but they broke their promises. And now, after multiple warnings, God is letting them face the consequences of their choice. But still, God keeps his promise. The shepherd does not abandon his sheep. Even though you are going into this place, he says, I am going with you. So do not be afraid. I will take us there, and I will see you through it. I will protect and keep you, and then I will call you home again. All of you, from every place you are held captive. I will pay that ransom and bring you home. This is the love our shepherd has for us. There are many dark places in the world where the shadow of death lurks just around the corner. War zones, hospitals, workplaces can turn treacherous. Our homes can become prisons. Cars can become death traps. And a simple walk can turn into horrible injury. Life is fragile and difficult, and we are often reminded of it. We all find ourselves in those places in those times. But God's promises to us is simple. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Yes, the storm is coming. Yes, it is real. But you are my precious child, and I will be with you through it. Even if it is discipline, I will be with you in it. and I will carry you through. And I do this for one reason, because you are precious to me, and I love you. Or even simpler, as that children's book shared, right? Storm is coming. I will be with you. I'll keep you safe. My promise is true. Knowing our shepherd's great love and commitment to us, we can step forward to follow, even if we know we are headed for the valley of the shadow of death, because he has us. Amen. Let's stand and sing together.